Hello and welcome to GraceTalk, a weekly podcast with Dale Campbell, lead pastor of Grace Fellowship Church in London, Kentucky. GraceTalk features casual conversations and practical insights into the Word of God. Now, get ready to listen, learn, and grow.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to GraceTalk today. I appreciate you joining us today, and I am excited. We got somebody new here with me. I'm normally with, I better say, my better half, because that's how I've introduced her every time. But today I've got Brad Hall with me.
Hello.
And we are glad to have Brad. Of course, all the Grace Fellowship know you, Brad.
Yeah.
And,
hopefully they do.
Yeah, they know you. Do you know how you're known as far as the Grace Fellowship people?
Well, I would be on stage every Sunday singing a little bit.
Right.
So.
That's right. And then if somebody from the outside wants to identify you, it's always the guy with the country voice.
That's exactly right.
So you've gained an identity around here.
That's exactly right.
And so I hope that good voice will be a draw for our podcast.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I'm all for it.
Hey, you know what's funny about this? You tried to talk to me about a podcast for maybe a year.
Oh, yeah.
Close to it, probably. And
well, I mean, I'm sure like a lot of people that's probably listening to this right now. If you're like me, I listen to podcast every day. So it's been something I've been wanting to do for a while, and threw the idea out here a while back, and hey, look here, now we're here.
We're here, and so finally, I guess the Lord had to talk to me about it, and not that your voice wasn't good enough, but His was better.
Hey, I would prefer it to be that way.
Yeah, and so here we are doing it,
Yeah.
and we've got the Lord's blessed us with a good setup, and we're already up and rolling out there, and so I just didn't. You said you listen to podcasts every day. See, I listen to things every day, but I wasn't necessarily just committed to podcast all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But your generation especially, they are.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I have a rough, used to be a little shorter, but I have roughly an hour commute to work and from work every day. So that's 2 hours of traveling, and then plus I do work a lot solo. I'm not working with somebody directly. So if I'm doing computer work or whatever it may be, I'll have a podcast playing, and music is great, and I love music, and I'm always on this. That's one of my favorite things to do, but it gets old sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the thing with podcasts or different opportunities to grow your mind and grow your faith, especially. You've got a lot of time for that.
Exactly,
and
right.
that works out great,
Yep.
and you're using it wisely. So. But I thank you for kind of pushing me in this direction, and because we want to be using every tool we possibly can, to minister to people. And this is just a whole different concept of the other things we do, and so it's good.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it, which I've been trying to listen every time we put one out and stuff, and y'all been doing a great job so far. I was listening today, preparing for this, and I was like, oh gosh, they're really good at this.
Well, what I wanted out of this, and I think the same thing when you talked to me, we wanted this just to be a casual conversation.
Yeah.
And we've got the preaching, we've got the teaching,
Yeah.
and those are all out there.
Exactly
and people
right.
need to be connecting with that. But there's a different level of ministry just through having a talk and a conversation about things. Things come out that don't necessarily come out when you're in a teaching mode.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's interesting. And so a lot of people are interested in what we're doing. Now, we did, some table talk sessions during COVID especially, because that pushed a lot of churches into media ministries.
Oh, yeah.
And social media and different things.
Yeah, COVID had a lot of negative impacts on, everything about it. But one positive that did come out of it is stuff like this.
Hell,
I think,
yeah.
I mean, people have really started to leverage technology and media in ways that they never thought were possible, 3 years ago or how long it's been now. So that was one positive that did come out of it.
I know pastors and churches that were doing nothing before COVID, and then some of them began to call us because they knew we had things going, and they wanted to know, how do we do streaming? How do we, get online? Because if they hadn't, their people would have no way of being connected. Now I'm watching, and those same pastors are keeping it going, which is a great thing because, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, hasn't been even that long probably, the local church did not have the means of reaching the world from sitting in a room like this.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Now, you and I can talk
yeah.
right here in this room, and literally people all over the world can pick up on what we're saying. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and it's the thing is, I think that it's the biggest misconception of different media and streaming and stuff like that is, like, I felt like, especially in this part of the country, people think that, oh gosh, that's going to be really hard to do, or this is really complicated. Well, once they start to diving into it, it's like, hey, this is, it's really not that hard. It's pretty straightforward, and we can, use this as a tool to further the word and further the ministry, and I'm all for it. I love it.
It's a lot easier now than it used to be to do any kind of media ministry. We did radio years ago, and I remember the days when I had to sit down with a cassette player and do it all on that, and then your intro, your outro is all. It was a lot more to it than what it is today on this kind of equipment, and so I'm glad for it. I'm happy about it.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, we've been, so far on all of the podcasts, we've been talking about our theme that God has just launched us into this year, and that was the theme of reset. And the Holy Spirit pushed me in that direction at the beginning of the year, that there are times we need a personal reset in different areas of our life. And so far, we've covered a lot of areas in the Sunday messages. But it's simply, paying attention to what God would say to you as far as certain areas of your life that you need to make an adjustment. And the Bible calls it discipline, or even, the chastening of the Lord. That really is the correction of the Lord. And so our life is a series of corrections in many ways. But we've been dealing with a lot of different themes. And then this past Sunday, we talked about having a lifestyle reset, when sometimes you need your routines, your behaviors, your daily conduct, whatever it is you do on a daily basis or even a weekly basis, you need to rethink that, because if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to get the same old stuff.
Yeah, well, you kind of stepped on my toes a little bit this past Sunday, because Hannah, my wife, will tell you, I'm a creature of habit.
I am too.
Oh, I'm telling you. And I really started thinking about that today, actually, like just your routine of what I do at work every day. Like I got my routine. When I come in the morning, I do X, Y, Z, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, actually on the way here to talk about this, I was thinking, man, I've always heard a thing, I think it's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And I got to thinking, like, man, if I really want to, going into like thinking about the reset series and all that, if you really want to take this to heart, our lifestyle has to change, and you got to do stuff differently, and you got to start thinking differently to really be able to apply this series to your life. And I mean, I'm doing a lot of personal reflection on that. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think that's what the Lord wanted for at least the beginning phase of 2022 for us at Grace Fellowship, was for us to begin to look at our lives and take personal inventory and make honest assessments of where we are and what areas are okay or what areas maybe we need to adjust. And He'll lead us if we'll listen.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, if we're not going to listen, He's not going to do much leading. But
you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Right. So if we have a willing heart,
exactly,
pay attention to what He's saying, He'll show us those areas that we need to adjust and need to reset. And the thing is, I'm in my mid-50s now, hitting the mid-50 mark. You're quite a bit younger, but every stage in life requires those resets.
Oh, absolutely.
Just because you get older I said this Sunday, as you get older, it's the tendency to get caught in some of the ruts the routines of life. But the truth is, every stage of life no matter what age you are, you're going to need to be doing these assessments and seeing what kind of adjustments you can make in your routines and daily behaviors.
Yeah, the older you get, I feel like, and I've noticed, especially since, me and Hannah got married and, now we got Reed and that sort of thing.
That changed it all.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've become more set in my ways is the deal. Like, this has got to be this way. This got to be this way.
Yeah.
And, I do, you're exactly right. If you become set in your ways, you're never going to grow. You're never going to change. You're just going to keep traveling down the path you're going. And, a lot of times that's not always the best thing. If you want to grow, that there becomes change that has to become involved in your life. And
right.
and a lot of times that takes work too.
Oh, it all takes work.
Yeah. And people don't want to do that these days.
And so one of the things I've not got in too much yet, but I probably will before we get through this series is, a lot of people want the Lord to give them a word. What they don't realize is when he does give you a word, there's usually a work involved with it. And so he can give you the direction, but you got to be willing to do the work. Your part is the cooperation, and there's work to that.
Exactly right.
And especially the more set into your patterns that you are, the longer you've done a certain thing, the harder it is to back up and adjust that.
Oh, yeah.
So, but if you're willing, there is a great payoff.
Oh, yeah.
There's a great reward.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking earlier, I think a lot of people, when they get into routines or they become complacent at where they're at, and they don't see what am I trying to say here? They don't see their full potential,
right?
Because they're just so stuck at where they're at, and all they can see is like in the path that they're going, or the rut, like you was talking about yesterday. They're stuck in it, and and if anybody's ever been in a rut, if you try to if you take a wheel, like if you're on a four-wheeler or whatever, and you try to jerk out all of a sudden, well, that usually don't work too well. No, you gotta fight the wheel a little bit and fight it, and then finally you'll pop up out of the rut. And that's what a lot of people they want, that instant gratification or that instant change to take place in their life. And it takes work, it takes time, and for that stuff to grow.
Consistent work.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because even if you get out of that rut, if you're not careful, you'll land right back in it within a matter of a day or two.
Oh, exactly.
And so that's what happens a lot of times, especially at the beginning of the year. People say, I'm going to set a New Year's resolution and do some research on those.
Yeah, I've never done that, yeah.
Most of them never make it beyond the first 30 days.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't make it that long, but...
The only one I've ever done, and my wife can tell you, I'm pretty proud of myself on this. I think, it's been a while. I bet it's 2 or 3 years ago now. I decided that I was going to quit caffeine. I just took on this kick. I'm quitting caffeine, and that's the only one I've ever stuck to, because I've tried the working out. I'm going to go back to the gym and everything like that. But so far, everybody will have a Coke or a sweet tea or something here, there, yonder, and whatnot. But as far as just quitting it, that's the only one I've ever stuck to. Which hey.
So you totally quit?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big accomplishment.
Yeah,
that's a big reset.
Yeah, drink water or Sprite generally 99% of the time. Every now and then, if I can't, there's only Coke or Pepsi or something like that. It is what it is. But
now, when I was dealing with leukemia, and we were paying very close attention to my health and being very sensitive to whatever the Lord would say to me to do. And we really adjusted our diet for a time, now, which was a good thing, but it wasn't so good because I lost a lot of weight because we adjusted my diet. And when you're dealing with any kind of cancer, you need to guard your weight loss.
Yep.
So I lost a lot of weight during that time, not because of the leukemia, because of the diet my wife put me on. So she's not here. We'll talk a little bit. But anyway, one of the things that the Lord did deal with me about in that season was soda, or we call it pop.
Oh, yeah.
Pepsi, Coke. And I didn't quit. He didn't necessarily deal with me to cut it out entirely, 100%, but that I needed to be very limited and guarded on how much of that I would drink. Now, I've never been one of these people that would drink 3, 4, and there are people that the amount that they are drinking.
Oh, that was me. Let me tell you right now, I could take Mountain Dew by IV at one point in time in my life.
And that's one of the strongest.
Oh, it's terrible for you.
But I did feel that the Lord wanted me to pay attention to that.
Absolutely.
And so that was in 2016 that we did all that adjusting of the diet, and I have never gone back to a regular routine. I don't average 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
I probably don't average at the most maybe 2 Cokes or something a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at with
You get in the habit of like drinking water. Like,
I do it every meal nearly.
yeah, I mean, you don't
Every
even
meal.
think about it.
You
I
never
think
think
I'll
about
have
it.
maybe a Sprite,
No.
maybe a couple a day, dinner or something, others like that, or maybe not even a couple, maybe one a day or something like that, just here, there, and yonder. But like when you get used to drinking water, that's what you want. Like it, you know, it quenches your thirst, and you know, a lot of times, like we went to the region tournament last night, and I'll tell one on myself. It was like Hannah waited. The game just had started, and she looked over and she's like, "Will you go get me something to drink?" And I was like, "Oh, sure, I guess." And I got up, and like I'm telling you right now, I bet the line you'd have stood over there probably not through halftime just to get through the line. So I was like, what can I do? Well, she wanted some of those. I think they're like roasted pecans or whatever. And so I went down there and got some of those. And I was like, I'm gonna get theirs. They got lemonade, so I got her lemonade. Well, I took that back to her, and you know, I said, I pulled, you know, I didn't want to fight the line. She's like, okay, cool. Give her that, and a few minutes later, she says, "Gosh, I'm so thirsty." That lemonade made her thirsty. I was like, "Well, that didn't accomplish what I no, it did not work." So,
well, those boys pulled off a great game last night.
They did. Depending on which side you was on.
I guess you better be careful.
Yeah, you better tread lightly. But I was happy.
Yeah,
as being a proud North Laurel alumni. So.
Well, of course, I'm from Barberville.
Oh,
and so
you may not have been so happy then.
Well, I would have been for our guys.
Oh,
here.
yeah, there you go.
But I'm Knox Central graduate.
Oh, so. Alumni. Ooh.
So, it was interesting, but I'm proud of these guys.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really cool seeing, kid right from North Laurel on the floor with the Kentucky Wildcats one of these days.
That's right.
I mean, I think that's it don't happen every day, so, that's pretty daggone cool.
Yeah. Well, let's break for just a moment. We'll be right back.
You're listening to GraceTalk. To receive notifications when new content is added, be sure to subscribe to our feed. You can also connect with us on social media by searching Grace Fellowship London. Now, let's get back to today's episode.
All right. Well, we're having a great time here today.
Absolutely.
Brad Hall's here, and we've been talking about everything. All right.
So, yeah.
And we're talking about reset mainly, and being our theme for the year. And your life may need a reset. You may be listening to this today, and pay attention to the impressions, the leadings of the Lord, because He'll show you the areas of your life where you need to make adjustments. Anytime He calls you to make an adjustment, it's for your good. And so that's what we're dealing with in this series here at the beginning of the year, just challenging you to be your best, and the only way you can do that is to pay attention to the resets.
Yeah.
So.
I was thinking, I've kind of caught, I'm just on this one, this episode so far, and I was, a few weeks back, we talked about emotions and emotional reset, and that was another one that really hit home for me, just because, I mean, I've been known to a time or two to get a little worked up,
a little emotional.
Yeah, I get really worked up, and I mean, people that know me would never believe that by any means, but would never guess that. But I've really started to think and catch myself, like it's not good,
No.
Why get tore up and worried over the small potatoes in life? You know what I mean? I mean, and the only thing you're doing is hindering yourself, and
every day, I don't know about every single day, but at least weekly, there are going to be some things that in life that you're going to have to deal with, and if you allow the circumstances of life just to get you in an emotional frenzy or get you given to your emotions, I think it affects every part of your life. It affects your relationships. It affects your health, very much so. And so we need to pay attention to that.
And I'll tell you something else, too. And a part that I really hadn't thought about much till then, but kind of been working on it, since that message is there's a lot of people that's trying to get a reaction out of you. and you're giving them the satisfaction of doing that.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and I've really been thinking about that, and I ain't gonna name names because people may be listening, but it's nobody at church.
Yeah.
But I know a few people that have to cross paths with a lot. That makes me, I wonder sometimes, are they, I think they're doing it for a purpose.
To try to draw you in,
Yeah.
and see what kind of response they can get. And sometimes the greatest level of victory you can achieve is not to give a response. Yeah. One of the greatest days of my life may have been when I realized I don't have to respond to everybody.
Yeah.
And especially since social media hit, because I grew up without it.
Oh yeah.
And your generation is we now deal with it every day.
Yeah.
But I'm from the generation we couldn't vent online.
Yeah.
But now people love to vent online.
Yeah.
And I've watched it. They will intentionally say things to draw a response out of somebody.
Just to stir it up.
And what's amazing, 90% will give them the response.
Yes. I get tickled at the comments on Facebook all the time. I'll just read the comments for the. I very rarely comment on anything on Facebook, and if I just don't. But I get tickled at the comments because a lot of people that they think that their comment on a post is gonna change the world or something another, and the only thing it's doing is just stirring the pot. You know what I mean?
Stirs the pot. And so if you're going to be healthy and whole,
exactly,
spiritually, emotionally, and you're going to have to reset that. And
exactly.
Now, not everybody are given to that on the same level. Now, some people are more emotional than others. I think it's because they practice giving themselves to their emotions more than others. But you can control that.
That's exactly right.
And that was a huge ordeal when I ministered that a few weeks ago. I'd never ministered on emotions like that, and I probably had more comments out of that than ever. And I had to do an assessment of my own emotions because we were dealing with, we deal with life outside of the church ministry and in the church ministry. And sometimes you've got situations in the church that can draw emotions out. Oh. But just like anybody else, we've got situations outside of the church. So I was dealing with some personal business in different places, and there was great opportunity to let the emotions rule and reign. And I realized I'm pondering these things in my mind over and over, and you can literally feel that anxiety build, in your body when you think about that. And I thought, I'm not going to have this. Yeah. And so my own preaching has helped me.
Hey, listen, that's awesome.
Because I've had to step back and say, hey, I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to be anxious over that.
Oh yeah.
Now I know it's got to be things got to be dealt with, or I've got to give some attention to that. But sometimes, just to step back.
Yep.
Take a step back. One thing I have learned, as you get older, you do learn a few things. So I have learned over the years, especially dealing in ministry and leadership with people for many years, sometimes you need to step back. You don't have to deal with everything immediately.
Nope.
I can look back most of the time when I felt like I had to deal with things immediately, that's when I made the biggest mistakes. Yep. So if I can step back, sometimes even a day or two, and just breathe.
Yep.
And reflect, it allows me to move in a right manner to deal with things and keep the flesh.
Well, a lot of times, just like how you said that, a lot of times your first initial reaction, I mean, if you're like me, it's probably not the best response.
The best.
Yeah. If you'll take time to gather yourself and really think, how should I approach this from a situation, or from a just back up and let's approach this and at a logical and then a Christian stance and think about how a lot of people I see they just they'll have a situation come up, and then they'll just spout off at the mouth. Well, first off, how did that make you look? Right. I mean,
and we've all been guilty.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But an emotional reset to where you can pull back, gather your thoughts, gather your emotions, and then calm, cool, and collected. Say, go handle a situation. It makes all the difference. It
makes all the difference in the world.
Exactly.
And it's something I think the more you practice it, the more you achieve it. If you've been one who is given to running off with the mouth quickly, and you practice that style of life, just being quick to respond. Peter was like that. Over and over, and to the point, Jesus one day had to rebuke him and say, "Get thee behind me, Satan." Now that's pretty strong. But Peter was always so fast to just speak what came to his mind. And a lot of times it wasn't the right thing at the moment, And so Jesus had to kind of reset Peter to get him moving in the right direction often.
Didn't he cut a man's ear off as well?
He was so given to emotions, he drew the sword, cut a man's ear off, and Jesus is right in the middle of his arrest, has to put the guy's ear back on.
Hey, talk about a series of events. Like, would you not want to be I always think about this stuff sometimes, like, you read these different stories in the Bible, and you hear like he cut a man's ear off, and then Jesus just here's your ear back and puts it back on. Okay, now I'm ready to be arrested here. Like, how does that series of events just happen? It's crazy.
And then bear in mind that within a matter of hours, where Peter was willing to cut the guy's ear off, now he's denying Jesus 3 times. So he's at that point in his life, he's really given to his emotions and his feelings. Not led by the Spirit for sure.
Went from all the way up here, I got your back through and through, to, well, who is that guy?
So, but, we can reset out of these things.
Exactly.
And just because we've gotten into a routine or a pattern of conducting our life that way doesn't give us a license to stay that way.
Exactly.
And so I want to be on target, and to do so, I need to reset.
Yeah.
So
change is a good thing. It's not bad.
Good thing. Yeah. People don't like it, but it is a good thing.
Yeah.
So it's been great to have you on today, Brad. So
it's been
great.
We're
running out of time here, and so I hope you will join us for the next session on this subject of reset and our next podcast. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Grace Talk with Pastor Dale Campbell. For questions or comments regarding today's show, email us at gracetalk@graceforyou.com. To learn more about Grace Fellowship Church, visit www.graceforyou.com. Have a blessed week, and remember, the Word of God is powerful seed capable of producing an abundant harvest in the lives of those willing to listen, learn, and grow.